Hi, thanks for joining us for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South. I'm Chris Cooper. Bats scare some, but they eat lots of harmful insects. Also, it's important to get your lawnmower ready for winter. That's just ahead on the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South.
Production funding for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South is provided by the WKNO Production Fund, the WKNO Endowment Fund, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome to the Family Plot. I'm Chris Cooper. Joining me today is Mary Smith. Mary is the Backyard Wildlife Center Curator at Lichterman Nature Center, and Mr. Booker T. Lee will be joining me later. Hi, Mary. It's always good to have you here.
It's great to be back.
All right, so you're going to talk about bats today.
I'm going to talk about bats. So bats are really misunderstood mammals. They get a bad rap. So we're going to try to dispel some myths and learn a little bit more about bats and maybe appreciate them a little bit more.
Yeah, let's see if we can appreciate them a little bit more.
Okay.
All right.
So they belong to the order of Chiroptera, which is kind of cool. It means hand wing. So if you look at a bat wing, it's not like a bird wing. It's more like a hand with thin skin stretched around it. So that's how they get their name. There's over 1,400 different species around the world. Only 3 of them are what we call vampire bats.
Okay.
None of those are found in the United States. So
but they actually do exist.
They do. There's 3. One mainly feeds on like cattle, and the other 2 specialize in birds. Wow. But we don't have to worry about those in the United States. We don't have those around here. Almost all the bats we have here are insect eaters.
Okay, good.
They're our only flying mammal too, so that makes them really unique. Flying squirrels have the name flying, but they're actually gliders. So bats unique that they're our only flying mammal.
Okay, how about that?
Yeah.
Pretty neat. So far, so good. I'm intrigued. All right.
But I want to talk about a couple myths because
let's do that.
There's a lot of myths out about bats.
Okay.
One of the first ones is that bats are blind. Right?
Yes, I've heard that.
Yeah, they're not blind. They actually have pretty good vision. But sometimes, because of the way they hunt with echolocation, it can seem that they're flying after nothing, or sometimes you can trick them to fly after a rock because they see it as a big insect. Okay. So they're not blind. Another myth out there is that they like to fly in your hair. I don't know why that.
I heard that one.
I don't know. They like to get tangled in hair. But I think that probably started from somebody leaving a cave at the same time bats were trying to leave, but they don't like to be in people's hair unless it's full of bugs.
Okay, maybe. Insects, maybe. Yeah.
And then the last one is about rabies. Now it's important to remember that just about any mammal can carry rabies. Bats can be a source of rabies, but it's really less than 1% that can carry rabies. Best thing you can do if you see a bat on the ground, to leave it alone.
Okay. Wow, how about that? So yeah, we're dispelling those myths.
Yes.
All right, good job. All right, so now we're going to talk about the benefits.
Yeah, so there's even more benefits than just eating insects, right? So a bat can eat about half of its body weight in insects a night. So that's a huge amount of insects that they're taking out. And that can reduce our use of pesticides and help keep the cost of certain crops low when they're destroying some of these harmful pests that are getting on there. The other one is pollination, especially the further south you go. Some plants are pollinated by bats, including the agave plant.
Uh-oh.
Do you know what that's?
Tequila.
That's right, yes.
Yeah, that's right.
If you like tequila, you should thank bats. They're the primary pollinator of the agave plant.
How about that?
That's a good one. And then this is really unique too. Now, it's not so much here in North America, but in the rainforest, when tracts of land are clear cut, it's hard for seeds to get back there and get reestablished. But for fruit-eating bats, they're one of the primary seed dispersers to help new or clear-cut tracts of land start to get some new plants on them too. So lots of benefits, no matter where you are in the world, that bats have.
Wow, didn't know that.
Yeah.
How about that? So
Pretty
there you go,
interesting.
folks. Tequila, how about that? Thank a bat for that. So what are some of the challenges that the bats have to face?
Yeah, so they're definitely facing a couple challenges. One is just the myths that we talked about. People don't fully understand them. Another big one is habitat destruction. And then also there's some diseases like white nose syndrome.
Heard of that.
Yeah, it's can be up to like 95% fatal in some colonies, so it's pretty serious. It can draw bats out of hibernation when they don't have enough fat stores, things like that. And then lastly, invasive species, right? So when we introduce invasive species, pollinators aren't attracted to that. That's the food source for our bats. So that kind of connection between the two, we're missing when we use the invasive plants.
Yeah, I thought that. Okay. Yeah, those are real challenges for those bats. All right, so how can we help them?
Okay, so the first thing is we can provide some habitat for them. There are some bats that we utilize bat boxes, and depending on where you are, you can look and see what would be the right type of bat box for your area. And those can be used in the winter and the summertime, sometimes even by different bats. So providing some additional habitat for them, planting native plants like we talked about to attract their food source, and then helping to dispel some of the myths that we were talking about too.
So in the bat boxes, I mean, how high do they have to be up, some of the structures?
Yeah, so
trees?
Yeah, so probably about 12 to 15 feet. And one of the important things that a lot of people forget about when putting up bat boxes is make sure to put a predator guard on the bottom. Raccoons can climb and they can, take a couple bats every night. So it's important to put a predator guard up there too if you're gonna put up some housing.
Okay. And something else about bats I've heard before, so they hang upside down, they sleep upside down, is that right?
Yeah, that's right,
Okay.
yeah.
Wow, it's interesting to me.
It is, yeah. One other thing I was going to mention too, there are caves that are closing right now because of white nose syndrome.
Okay.
And so it's important for people not to enter those caves so that they're not spreading white nose syndrome from one colony to another.
Okay, wow, how about that? And of course, I'm sure you probably heard about bat guano. It's supposed to be pretty high in nitrogen.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people that use that as a nitrogen source in their gardens.
Yeah, that's another benefit of bats is the guano that they produce can be a great fertilizer.
That's pretty good. So bats are good. And can you tell us a little bit about what you have here?
Yeah, so one of the things about bats is people don't realize how small most of our bats are. So this is just a representation of one of our bats here in North America. But they can get really large. They can vary in size from just a few inches to something over 6 feet, a group of bats called flying foxes, which can get wingspans over 6 feet. Here's a nice example of the skeleton, and you can see what I was talking about with the wing that kind of looks like an hand with fingers extended.
It's pretty impressive. Wow, so I hope we dispelled all those myths about bats and let folks know that bats are actually beneficial. Now, do they eat more than just mosquitoes though? Because we always get that question.
Right, so definitely they're gonna be going for larger insects too. That's a little bit more of a payoff. So a lot of those nighttime flying insects, those are the same ones that the bats are going after as well.
Okay, and I know you mentioned pollinating the agave plant, but also bananas, I've heard.
Yeah, giant cacti, they can help pollinate. And there's some other nut trees that they can have a role in pollinating as well.
What about mangoes? I've heard that before. Is that?
Yeah, they can. So they're not with the agave, they're one of the primary
gotcha.
pollinators, but they can definitely pollinate other plants as well.
Okay. So how about that? Thank you, Mary. Appreciate that good information about those bats. And hopefully, again, we can dispel those myths, right?
Absolutely.
Thank you much.
Thank you.
We have a birdhouse here tied by pieces of rope. If you look here, the rope is actually cutting into the tree. Now, this can be very dangerous to the tree because it can weaken the tree and leave it susceptible to fungal diseases, bacterial diseases, or insect pests. So what we're going to do here is we're going to loosen the rope. We're going to tie it back, and we're going to make it just a little looser this time. And I'm sure the tree would definitely appreciate it. You can see here how much this rope has been cutting into the trunk of this tree. If you're going to decide to tie a birdhouse to a tree using a rope, make sure you check it every year just to make sure you're not weakening the tree. Hi, Booker. We're talking about lawnmowers. We're talking about putting them up in storage for the winter, which I can't wait for because I want to go dormant too.
I can't wait, Doc, to get mine put up for the winter month. I hate to bring it back outside again, though. But then in the springtime, we don't store it right.
Right.
We got to again start it up. It won't make it. You just keep pulling and pulling and pulling. You wonder what's wrong. you didn't store it right.
Well, that happened to me.
Me too. Right now, I'm gonna start this one right now. And
Okay.
Make sure it's ready to go.
All right.
And just put it up.
There we go.
Ready to go.
All right.
And a lot of times, Dr. Chris, a lot of times we don't clean our air filter on our mower with a filter on there. They get real clogged up sometimes.
Okay.
You get a lot of dust, especially cutting in the early spring. When you got that fresh cutting, it get real dirty. And you need to take this out of here.
That's dirty.
It's dirty. That's dirty. That's dirty. That's it. No, you can't dust it off and put it back in there. But I just gonna try and give me a new one in there.
Okay.
That's what I'm gonna do right now. So I'm gonna winterize mine right now.
Now, you'll get an early start.
Early start. Put this filter in there now. I got a brand new filter fit right in there. Got to put the boat back in there and tighten it up. Then I'm ready to go. That for the springtime. And another thing there, I want to check my spark plug.
Okay.
A lot of times the spark plug in here, this the spark plug here, you might want to check to make sure that you get your new spark plug put in there. You can take it out and look at it, see how it look on the end of it.
Okay.
And what you want to do is take the spark plug with you to the store, because they're all different sizes of spark plug
That's
you want to
smart.
put in there. So you want to make sure you take it with you,
Okay.
but they can fit you with the right spark plug. So you want to take the spark plug out right here, take the cord off there, then take it with you and put you another one back in there.
Mm-hmm.
Then you know you got that taken care of you got all that taken care of.
All right.
And the next thing you want to do is make sure that you change the oil.
Oh, yeah.
Change the oil in there so now and a lot of times, a lot of more you can turn it upside down and change the oil. But then here, some more you change on the bottom.
Okay.
I'm leaning all the way over
All
there
right,
and
okay.
show that. And then you got a plug under there. You take the plug off. Mine change from the top. You can take the plug off here and change that oil in that lawnmower. And while you got it upside down like this here, getting ready to change the oil, letting the oil out, you might want to change your blade, and sharpen your blade. I sharpened my blade the other day, and it's real good. You got a screw here. You can take the blade off there and sharpen it while you run around it for the winter. Go
Okay.
get the blade
Now,
sharpened.
how often do we need to get our blade sharpened?
Well, I sharpen mine at least twice during the cutting
Okay,
season.
twice.
Make sure that I have a good blade. But
Okay.
at the end of the year now, I'm sharpen again. When I get
yeah.
started again, I'm ready to go. Now, while you got it upside down, you see all that dirt up under there, all that junk under when the grass. A lot of times we cut our grass when it's wet.
Yeah.
And that'll stick beside the lawnmower up under there, and that can rot the frame out. You don't want to do that, so you're going to clean it off real good. Then get you a wide brush, and brush it down real good. Then get you a water hose and wash it out there.
Okay.
And sometimes you might want to get you a little oil and just rub it up under here, prevent that from rusting. Because a lot of times
That's a good idea.
A lot of times we cut our grass when it wet.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't do that, and that make it stick to the top in there. So while you got the oil change, all the oil drain it out of there. See, you got some oil here. Know how much oil to put in there. They tell you how much oil to put in there in your lawnmower. Put this in there. Then don't wait till the spring to put the oil in there. Now already drained out of there, because what can happen, you forget.
Right.
And you go out there and start your lawnmower up, and it will run for a while, and next thing you know, it's like boop, boop, boop.
Just go out.
Go out. So change the
Burn
oil,
it up.
put the oil back in there that you take out of there.
Okay.
Then you know it's ready to go.
Okay.
And so in there you got your mower ready.
So, Booger, for your oil, for your spark plug, your air filter, you just go to a regular hardware store or somewhere like that to
regular
get
hardware
those?
store will get that, and sometimes you might go to the place you bought the mower at.
Okay.
Because they'll know more about the mower than
Sure.
because they sold you the mower and tell you that. And on your oil, change your oil, Dr. Cooper. Normally you need to change your oil about every 25 hours. You can keep a count how you cutting your grass.
Right.
In 25 hours, you might want to change that oil.
Okay.
Like mine, I cut mine twice a week. And that's,
So you change yours a lot, right?
That's 8 times a month almost. And 8 hours ago, it take me about an hour and a half something to mow my yard.
Okay.
So yeah, you might want to change your oil when you cut 25 hours. You know that. Say, well, I done cut 25 hours. I need to take that oil out of there.
Okay.
Because your mower lasts a lot longer when you change the oil. That's the life of the engine, the oil change in there.
Okay.
So we always know we need to change that oil in there and do that in there.
Good deal.
Then the next thing that you want to do now is get you a gas stabilizer.
Oh, yeah.
And you want to, on that last cutting, when you're ready to cut, you want to run all your gas almost out of there and run you a gas stabilizer and put some gas stabilizer in there by reading the label, how much to put in there, and run that through your mower.
Okay.
And then you want to run it for at least 5 minutes, get that all through your system, and then let it run out of gas.
Okay.
Then you get ready to store it for the winter.
Okay.
If you don't, you do leave some gas in there over the winter month. It might sound strange, but about once a month, take it out of the garage and go out there and start it up.
Wow. Okay.
Because you want to keep that gas circulating, keep the gas moving in there. If not, you can have the gas to kind of go. You got ethanol in there. Sometimes it'll kind of expand, then it won't start in the winter in springtime. So you need to start up area at least once a month.
Wow.
And keep that gas begin to circulate through that lawnmower.
Okay.
And stuff in there. So that's a good thing.
I mean, so is it a good thing to stored with gas in it, or do we just need to make sure
it's good to run it out of there. You
Just to
can.
run it out if you
don't
can,
have no,
okay.
don't have no gas in there.
Okay,
You
I need to
get
remember
everything
that.
out of there.
Okay.
So I do the same thing in there.
So
in
run it out.
Run it out.
Okay.
Then in the springtime, be hard to start in there.
Okay.
So then you might want to run all the way out of there, then store it up then.
Okay.
Then when you get ready to start again in the springtime, you put some new fresh gas in there, all your line is clear and everything is clean, and your mower is ready to go ready to work again.
Okay.
But then like the only thing you might want to do during that time is change your air filter because it get real dusty sometime out there. And another thing you might want to change your oil, you do more than 25 hours of cutting.
Right.
You keep that in there. Then you sharpen your blades, depending on how you want to keep that blade sharp.
Okay.
So get that mower ready for the winter time and store it up. Put it somewhere in your garage that you don't know. Put it somewhere in your garage, somewhere in a place that you won't be in your way, but that you can need it to start up. You left some gas in there.
Okay. And when you clean it up, you just use water, right?
I just use water
put
running
much
off
water.
in there. And sometimes I got some place with some boats on there. I might put a little oil on a little rag or something and rub those boats in there real good
Okay.
to make sure that
Think about that.
keep them from rushing out.
So some WD-40 or something like that.
It'd be
might
real
a trick.
good. It'd be good. You know about that, Dan.
Yeah, okay.
But store that mower in a good safe place, then clean it up for the winter month, and your mower is ready to go in the springtime, and you're ready to start cutting again and stuff in there.
So you're ready to go for 2 cuttings a week,
Two
right?
cutting a week.
Oh, my
Oh
God.
man, it's good. The blade sharp. But that's how you want to ride your lawnmower for the winter there and everything. And store it real good. The most important thing.
All right, well, Booker, we definitely appreciate that information. Now we got our lawnmowers ready for the spring,
You ready
right?
for the spring? Yeah.
All right, thank you much.
So we're out here in the square foot garden and it's going to frost tonight. In fact, it's going to freeze pretty hard. We're going to get down, it's supposed to get down to about 27 degrees tonight. And so we're going to try and cover the square foot garden here and see if we can keep it surviving, because we know beyond that we have at least a week of good weather. And I recruited Chris Cooper to help me.
I'm here to help.
So one of the great things about this is that we have these fences here. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to put some 2x4s from the fence down to the far side. So that'll support the weight of our cover and hopefully keep the plants from getting crushed.
Hopefully.
Okay, now we can't just put plastic over this, because plastic is really good at building up heat during the day, and we're going to probably leave this on for a couple days because it's going to get cold for a few nights in a row. But also, plastic doesn't really insulate. So what we're going to do is we have some drop cloths that we're going to put over the plants, and then on top of that we're going to put plastic. Okay, so we got this great painter's drop cloth here that's happens to have a hole in almost exactly the right place to put over this pole.
I think it's on your side.
There it is right there. So
There you go.
I'm going to put the pole through there, make sure we cover up the eggplant. Now we have some smaller drop cloths that we'll just kind of use to fill in here. And it's important when you are doing this that your covering goes all the way to the ground, because you're trying to capture the ground heat and keep it in with the plants. I have some twine here, and so what we can do is we can just cut a little piece of twine, and rather than having to put a hole in the tarp, we just go ahead and tie a corner here. And then I can take that and tie it to our trellis. Okay, now that we're done with putting the fabric over it, we're going to go back over it and put a piece of plastic over it, because that'll really hold the air in.
Got it. Got it.
Can I get some more? So we have 2 pieces of plastic here. We're going to put one on above the post that we have for the eggplant, and we're going to put the other one on below. So that way we don't have to put a hole in our plastic. Now that we've got the plastic on and the fabric on, we just got to hold it all down with blocks. So we're just going to go around the backside here with blocks, and they're just out here now. Chris, if you want to just grab some, put them on at corners or where plastic comes together, things like that. So we got it all wrapped up. We've got the layer of fabric, the layer of plastic. Hopefully it'll stay nice and warm.
Looks good. So I did notice that there was a bucket under here. So what's the big tub for?
Right. So I don't know if you noticed, but I turned on the irrigation system right before we started so that the ground can get nice and wet.
Okay.
Then we're also going to fill up that tub with water. And it's just going to sit there. It's kind of nice because we have the overhang because of the way we built the trellis. Let me go turn the hose on. The reason for that is that water is a really, really good holder of heat.
Right.
And so even though the water's not warm, you wouldn't want to take a bath in it, but it still can release a lot of heat during the night, which will help keep the plants nice and warm.
And that's what we want.
Yeah. There's another benefit to that, and that is that if it gets warm in here during the day, which it might do,
Which it might.
that will help absorb the heat as well, which actually then benefits you at night. So the water can be used to absorb the heat during the day, keep it cooler, release the heat at night, keep it warmer.
That's good.
So let's go ahead and put this down and put blocks on it.
Seal it in, right?
Yep. Now we'll come back in a couple days after the cold nights are over and see how we've done.
All right, here's our Q&A segment. Y'all ready?
Ready.
These are great questions. Here's our first viewer email. I'm thinking about planting a citrus or a persimmon in a front bed, but my lawn is nearby and I want to start using pre-emergent herbicides there. I'm just not sure if I'm going to be too close to the fruit trees. How big is the root zone for a fruit tree, and do I need to keep pre-emergents out of that area? And this is GigaChud on YouTube. So we're gonna ask Mr. Booker T. Lee first about that, using a pre-emerge around the fruit trees. It's a good question.
Yeah,
Good question.
it should be okay though, the pre-emergent herbicide list, because problem come in a granular fertilizer. You're not putting a seed out there, nothing like that. You're putting a plant out there.
Okay.
No, it should be okay.
Right.
And but I just be very careful, still read the label on there just to make sure. But the root system should be, they don't spread a whole lot of some
Right.
tree in them, but it should be okay. But I just read the label just to make sure it's on there. And then, as long as you're not planting a seed in there, and the pre-emergent normally keep the seed from germinating.
Okay.
But I probably still try to keep away from the root zone, from the base of the tree real close.
Right. I think I would try to do that as well. Anything you want to add to that, Mary?
I was just going to add, I hope they're looking into the native persimmon tree.
Hey, look at you.
That I know it's becoming really popular.
Okay.
It's picking up some speed, but it's a native, one of the largest fruit trees in North America.
How about
So,
that? Wow.
Persimmon?
GigaChud, how about that? You learn something new every day on the Family Plot, I tell you. That's pretty good. Yeah, I would be careful about using it around your fruit trees. And do know this, so when we're talking about like the drip zone, so it's usually 1.5 times the distance from the trunk to the outermost branches. So, I mean, the roots can get out there pretty far. So I would read and follow the label,
Yeah.
like Mr. Booker said. You probably have to get that watered in. But yeah, if you want to keep it away from the fruit trees, good for you. Good for you. Just be careful with that, all right?
Yeah.
Appreciate that. All right, here's our next viewer email. I live next to a pond and we used to hear frog songs, but now we don't hear them anymore. Why not? And this is Betty from Memphis, Tennessee. So, Miss Betty, we have Mary here with us today. And she's gonna tell us why we don't hear those frog songs anymore.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's becoming more prevalent that we're not hearing so many frogs. And it's actually for all amphibians, so frogs, toads,
Wow.
salamanders. And the reason is that they are struggling right now with things like habitat destruction. But more importantly, especially because the pond's still there, it probably has to do with pesticides, because these animals can absorb things through their skin. And so they're environmental indicators that something is going on in that habitat. So something's happening, whether that's runoff getting into the pond, whether it's pesticides getting, killing off the food sources for these animals. I think it's around 1/3 of amphibians right now are in danger of extinction. So it's a big issue, but there are some things that we can do to help amphibian populations. We can plant native. I'm a big proponent of planting native to attract our native pollinators, reduce our use of pesticides, especially near waterways. And if you can, you can put in your own pond that you have control over that's not, say, a neighboring pond that could have runoff or something like that in it.
Wow. That's good stuff, Mary, but yeah, it's pretty unfortunate. It is.
You hear a lot of, when I was living in the country with my granddad, we'd hear him all the time, making that noise. So I know, I never thought about that.
Yeah.
I never thought that's good information.
Yeah, that's real good.
Yeah, I never thought
appreciate
about that,
Mary. So there you have it, Miss Betty. Yeah, we got a lot of work to do, right?
Yeah.
Kind of change that habitat, for our amphibians. So yeah, thank you for that perspective, Mary. All right, here's our next viewer email. Why are my cosmos not blooming? I planted them from seed on April the 26th, and it is now September 10th, and they have little to no blooms on them. They're about 5 feet tall now. I've done nothing to them except water the seeds when I planted them. Any idea why they are not blooming? And this is Marguerite from Belfast, Tennessee. So yeah, thanks for the picture. It's a good picture. So it is in an area where it looks like it gets full sun. Okay. My thing is this, she says she just watered it, so no fertilizer, anything like that, because cosmos, if you think about it, they're native to Mexico. They're drought-tolerant plants. She has done nothing but water.
Water, yeah, I'm saying. Yeah,
so I think it could be too much water, and you have to make sure that your soils are well drained.
That way the picture looks could be a lot
Right,
of water.
because I was, looking, around the area, looking at some of the weeds growing up, and some of those weeds that I saw like a lot of moisture.
Well, yeah, moisture, yeah.
So that's, that's something that came to my mind. And Mary, I don't know if you saw anything else.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
So if you can adjust that drainage issue or pick a different spot next
I'll
year.
pick a different spot next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds good. So again, that's what we're thinking is maybe, just too much water. Because again, cosmos don't need nutrient-rich soils. They can grow just about in any soil for the most part, but yeah, too much water could be an issue. Too much fertilizer could be an issue. But here I think it's too much water. Poor drainage is what I think that may be. So Ms. Marguerite, thank you for that question. Appreciate you much. All right, so Mr. Booker, Mary, it's fun.
It was a great.
Thank
day.
you much.
Thank you. Enjoyed that.
All right. Remember, we love to hear from you. Send us an email or letter. The email address is familyplot@wkno.org, and the mailing address is Family Plot, 7151 Cherry Farms Road, Cordova, Tennessee 38016. Or you can go online to familyplotgarden.com. That's all we have time for today. Thanks for watching. If you want to learn more about anything we talked about today, including bats or getting your lawnmower ready for winter, just head on over to familyplotgarden.com. Be sure to join us next week for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South. Be safe.